Hi, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for all arriving on time. My name's Daniel Seal. I've got the pleasure of moderating the first panel, and I've just been given the whole lineup today, so it's a pretty cool day two at DLD. So without further ado, I'd like to invite to the stage Gillian Tans, the CEO of Booking.com. We're going to have a quick chat, then I'm going to invite the panelists on where we're going to talk about how we engage Generation Z. So big round of applause for Gillian, please. Hello, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
How are you enjoying Tel Aviv?
Well, I haven't seen much because I arrived at 3 o'clock in the night. So I hope to see a bit more after this session.
Yes, and your luggage arrived on time, didn't it?
Yeah, it arrived on time.
Yeah, my luggage didn't turn up. I had 2 bags. I was at Burning Man, one with my Burning Man clothes and one with my normal ones. So I thought you wouldn't want to see me in mermaid leggings this morning, so I did a quick shopping Castro. So Booking.com is really, it's a really interesting platform. How many of us in the audience have used Booking.com before? Pretty good. How many of you have not? Oh, and how many of you are too shy to put your hand up? One at the back. So how has the business been growing? Because obviously, these whole certain, mega search engine, many things. How have you seen the business grow over the past few years with customer usage and that side of things?
Yeah, so Booking.com is from originally a Dutch company. So we started off our business in Amsterdam, where we still have our headquarters today. People are always surprised if they visit one of the bigger internet companies in the world that it brings them to Amsterdam. But for travel, it was ideal because basically Dutch people travel a lot. They get a lot of holidays. So we started in the beginning following Dutch demand, which brought us all over the world. Plus Holland is very small. So we had to think cross-border very early on. So very early on, we started thinking about different countries, crossing borders, different currencies, different languages. So we operate now all over the world. We have over 1.4 million properties listed on Booking. We operate in almost every country in the world. We have around 17,000 people employed, which are located all over the world as well. And Booking is still a fast-growing business. We mainly operate in accommodations. That's mainly how we service our customers. But more and more, through technology, we're able to basically service customers in their whole travel experience.
Yeah, actually, it's quite funny because if you look at historically, Holland was always the travel center, the first stock exchange. So it's quite.
It's true. No matter where in the world you meet Dutch people.
Yeah. And how are you seeing? Because obviously, as a user myself, and there's something. How are you seeing that the hotels? Because ultimately, a lot of them now are, trying to go direct to the consumer. Are you seeing that there is? That this helps the business, or you see that people still use you? Because I use SPG and they're always trying to push their app, and I still use both. How are you seeing users deal with that?
Well, I think what people underestimate that most customers that come to properties are new. And that's why Booking, of course, is a perfect platform, because we basically show customers all of the accommodations that are there in a destination where they want to book. And also you see that properties are dealing with technology better and better, which is great also for Booking, because that enables us to give an even better experience to customers.
That's interesting. We'll talk a little bit more with our panelists later on about, obviously analyzing customer data, new versus old. And, you said you have 17,000 employees. How are you managing to keep that innovation culture? Because ultimately as a business, I'm sure you constantly have to be innovating. And with a company that size, how are you managing to keep that innovation culture going?
Yeah, I think Booking from day one has been a company that only drove innovation through data. So basically, if you think about A/B experimentation, is something how we grew our product, which is quite the opposite to many other companies in that time. They basically built a beautiful product and then started marketing it all over the world. Booking just made a very basic product. Basically, we wanted to take friction out of booking an accommodation. We wanted to make it more informative, more intuitive. And that's how we basically started. And then we started testing on consumers to see how we can make our product better for consumers. And that also means if you need a lot of people to come up with ideas, we do over 1,000 experiments today, every day. So that's how fast innovation goes. And you need people to come up with these ideas, and you cannot do that top down. So you need a culture which is very bottom up, and that's what you will find at Booking.com.
And engaging with startups, is this something that as a company you actively look to do? Have you been acquiring? Have you been partnering with? Can you share some more information on that?
Yeah, so we have acquired startups all through time in Booking. Mainly we look for small technical companies which can benefit from the Booking platform and brings technology that will help the customer experience at Booking.com. The latest acquisition we've done here in Tel Aviv, and it's a company and a product which we're now implementing for Booking customers to see how we can, it's a bot which basically says you can type in, I would like to go to Paris, want to have a 2-star hotel, etc. And then basically it will give you these options, and that's something that we're implementing in Booking today. But we've always done small acquisitions within Booking, and also we have Booking Cares, which we're actively also sponsoring startups and helping them with our knowledge. But these are startups which are basically focused on sustainable tourism, which is something, of course, looking at our product, which is in our interest to help make the world actually worthwhile to keep being explored.
We're hearing a lot at the moment, I wouldn't like to use the phrase buzzword, but everyone's talking now AI, everyone's now talking bots, everyone's talking deep tech. From your, and obviously data, we're going to talk about that. Do you really see that, that this is going to be what's going to be, from the, transform the customer? I myself know, let's say I'm going to Amsterdam, my user journey is going to be, I'm going to go to check a hotel, but are you seeing people are now really just relying on the machines for that discovery?
Well, if you think about travel, and I think you all have that experience, if you start booking a holiday, the time you spend thinking about where to go, what to do, is almost as much than the trip itself. So I think there's value, and technologies like AI can truly help shortening that time and make even a better choice for your vacation. So there's lots of opportunities in travel, and I think the other side for our business is if people's lives get more technology, a lot of work is being taken away, people have more time to explore and to spend more time in experiences. And that's why Booking also is putting a lot of emphasis in building these experiences for people and make it easier to find the best experiences for your trip.
And if we were to say, let's fast forward 2 years' time, we're sitting here, where would you see the business going? What do you where would you say, like in your plan will it be more engagement with technology? Will it be diversifying your product base, more countries? Yeah. Where's the growth going to come from?
Well, more countries. We operate in every country in the world, so I don't think it's more countries, but there's parts in the world where we are still growing fast and gaining share. So that's for sure. Then it's also in accommodations. We are now adding a lot of more categories. You think about apartments, holiday homes, so that these are categories we are still growing in very fast. Many people would like to make different choices as to the accommodations they want to stay in. And then Booking.com is very active in building the whole experience for customers, which starts with helping people when they think, where am I going to go? But also helping people, what am I going to do once I arrive in a destination? So hopefully in 2 years we've made a lot of progress, and technology will play a bigger and bigger role within our company to accomplish this.
So correct me if I'm wrong here, does that mean that you're going into like that Airbnb space as well and like the Viator, that you're now going like cross-platform, or?
We've always had apartments within our product, so that's not new for us. But of course, it's a fast-growing segment. So, and that also means that if you follow customer demand, which Booking does, it also takes us into these type of properties more actively.
Very good. I think this is an appropriate time now if we're going to talk about data, if we should invite our other panelists to the stage. I'd like to invite Killian Maxwell of Hostel World Group. I'd like to invite Carl Fremont, Global Chief Digital Officer, currently of MEC, but we're going to hear about your new merger of Wavemaker. I would like to invite Jan Leshinsky, Head of Cloud Division of Yandex, Mandy Waller, Head of Global Markets at Geekapps, and Elad, where are you, from Facebook, VP of Client Services. So can we have a round of applause for our panelists, please? We need another chair? Oh, you've got, great. Elad, I think we're going to start with you. We spoke before. Obviously, the panel is talking a lot about data-driven and how consumers are, how we're looking at, and I'd say as Facebook, you're probably the largest data bank in the world of every selfie, Instagram that we take. So how are you seeing this whole engaging with, how we can track and see how consumers are going to be, following their footprints, etc.?
Okay, so good morning. Let's start with few interesting stats about Instagram. And then we can move on to data. So we just released new studies about Instagram, about how people under the age of 25 using Instagram and people over the age of 25. And people under the age of 25 on Instagram using Instagram 36 minutes per day. More than half an hour per day. The more mature one are using it 24 minutes. So it's a gap of 12 minutes. More than that, every day, 250 million people are already using Instagram stories. So that became very engaging. And I'm telling you that because we are now, we're seeing how consumers are using the app, which content they are consuming, and then we have the data and the knowledge to see how we can make sure that they're getting the best feed, both on Instagram and on Facebook, and how businesses can leverage it. So today, I think, there is a lot of talk about data and which data points we should use, and if we should target Generation Z more, or women or men. And for me, I think if we were able to identify users on a very personal basis, means that we are able to go to our own CRM, identify the behavior of the user, and then go back and learn about this group of people, we will be able to find similar people and give them the best targeted ad or service. Now we're talking about ads, but I believe that in the future, services and funnels should be tailor-made for a specific user.
Do you think with the new Instagram story that you're going to kill that lovely company called Snap?
I think, it's a great world and people are consuming, and I don't think there is a competition. We were surprised by the adoption of stories. People love it, people using it so much, and not only people. So over the past month in July, we discovered that over half of the businesses on Instagram were using stories. So without us pushing it, consumer loved it and businesses loved it as well. And I think we're going to see it more and more. We're seeing that over 60% of the people that are using the stories are doing it with voice on, so people are really engaging with that. And I think it's a great way for businesses to engage with audience.
Cool, thank you. Mandy, you run Geekapps. How are you seeing the breakdown with the Generation Z? Do you study, that demographic?
So Geekapps is a platform for small and medium businesses to build their own apps. We're heavily linked in with Facebook, Snapchat. We're seeing that our customers, who are the business owners, are heavily adopting the stories. We're definitely seeing stories coming up from our customers. And it's feeding right into the fact of the data. We use all the data behind it so that we can push more customers to business according to their usage, according to what apps they're downloading from our community. So data is everything for us.
Very good. Carl, firstly, maybe you can just share a little bit about, I alluded to Wavemaker, but a question to ask you. You, as the ad man sitting around the table, if we've all watched Mad Men, and obviously, how are you seeing now engaging with Generation Z? Obviously, your business was largely based on print advertising. Most, I don't think, Generation Z, or even really many of us here actually really look at that side. So how are you seeing, because obviously it changed, that companies like Facebook, Google, Megasearch are becoming much more of your main sources rather
Correct.
than the other way?
Well, first up, let me give a background about my company. So I'm the Global Chief Digital Officer at what was called until yesterday MEC, now Wavemaker. We merged two sister companies, and we're part of the WPP family of advertising, communication, marketing companies that are global, and my company is part of the media group. So we serve big, large, multinational brands for all of their media needs, whether that's in paid media or whether that's in owned channels. We look at the investments across every channel and determine how do we best allocate. So that's just a little background. To answer your question on the Generation Z, what we call Generation Z, the younger group, we all know that the behaviors of everyone, not just even Generation Z, but of everyone, but especially a younger group, has changed fundamentally media, which means that the way we reach and engage with people are changing drastically. What we used to count on as linear media, television or print, even out of home, the behaviors have changed, become more digital, and therefore allow us to be more, the digital part, more targeted, more relevant, more one-to-one driven. So the platforms like a Facebook or Snapchat, and we're really very agnostic on the platform side, allow us to engage an individual throughout the whole customer journey. And we're very much so focused on what that customer journey is for a brand, and whether it's at the consideration stage, driving consideration for a brand, or driving bookings, e-commerce, or loyalty, or even post-purchase. How do we best engage with them? Platforms for us are important because we can do it. If we can do that on a single platform, even the better. We've done that on Facebook. Facebook's an important platform, one of the important platforms for us, that has so much data, rich data and information about where somebody might be in that journey of brand consideration and purchase, that we can target our messaging based on where somebody is in that journey on a platform like a Facebook, which has been very successful for us. We've worked with Facebook, by example, on developing something we call the flywheel, on looking at engaging a customer on the platform through the whole customer journey.
Just something about the customer journey. So for the first time, I think, in history, mobile collapsed the consumer journey. So consideration can be mixed with purchasing, can come back to awareness. And it's very interesting because there is no more linear process of decision making. If you had to see in the previous, in like 10 years ago, it was seeing an ad on TV, then go and purchase, or go to the store, or go to a website. Today on mobile, you can see something, decide that you're buying it, and if the advertiser is smarter enough, they will do upsell, they will engage you in the funnel in a different way.
But branding is still an important part of it. But using the signals and the behavioral data information that Facebook provides allows us to understand where they might be in that consideration, and whether it's leading with an e-commerce or leading with a brand message, the data helps us identify where they might be.
Gillian, just to jump in there from your side, really two questions to ask. One, have you seen what we were saying with the mobile side, and especially, are you seeing that it's Gen Z will be the ones that will engage on the mobile more for e-commerce, or is it more that they will go on the site, use it for discovery, and then try and look around? Are you seeing a big difference between them?
Yeah, so what you see most with this generation in travel is that they are born more with technology, so you also have more trust in technology. So you see that this generation, they travel with the app and they book very last minute. So we've seen that this summer again, when many people were traveling, that they book maybe the first destination they plan and then they basically go on the fly. So that's a trend which is growing. Also what you see is that they really are much more demanding in what type of content you deliver to this customer. They want to have transparency, which is very important. Also looking at the alternative accommodations, they really are looking for a local experience. You see that changing from customers being spectators to active contributors in destinations. So there's a lot of elements there that we see through data is changing. And one comment I want to make on marketing and especially performance marketing, which has been from day one how we've grown the booking business, and it's all about finding intent, right? And for us that's travel intent, and of course with Google we can do that very well, but I think companies like Facebook, Snapchat, they really have a challenge in front of them to make sure that companies like us understand the intent on these channels and can really serve customers into the journey at booking a lot better. And that's something we're actively working with Facebook on to see how we can basically at scale get that data so we can actually do a better job at reaching out to these customers.
Great. Killian, can you maybe share with us a little bit about Hostelworld and what and obviously that's probably, you know, your large base is Gen Z and how you are engaging with them.
Yeah, so Hostelworld is a specialist, I would say, online travel agency. We'd be the largest online hostel booking platform in the world. We would be infinitesimal in comparison to Booking, but we do about 7 million bookings a year with 80 million in revenue. And the team is about 250 people spread across a number of offices. I think what's interesting about our business is we probably have the youngest customer base within online travel. 90% of our customers are under 35. 1 in 4 of them is between 18 and 21. So we're essentially a business that needs to be digital. Our customers are digital natives. And I think the other thing just about our customers that's particularly unique is they're probably the most passionate travelers, I would say, out there. So we've really built a brand around a meet the world proposition. So our customers, they're passionate about travel, they're looking to meet new people while they're traveling, and then they're looking to share, I suppose, extraordinary stories and memories with other people. So the meet the world proposition has really allowed us, I think, from a marketing perspective, to actually advertise to them in a kind of a non-advertising kind of way. I think we can write content, and we approach content from a very kind of authentic, real way, and it allows us, I suppose, to write content on topics, whether it's foodies are a big thing for us, volunteering, other topics. We're dealing with mental health while people travel, and I just think our brand has allowed us to do that because we've kind of just built it around a meet the world proposition. So.
And just as we were talking before, you know, Gillian mentioned that they have a lot of impulsive, you know, people purchasing very, very quickly, higher mobile. Can you maybe share, are you seeing the same things, that quick purchase, largely mobile driven?
No, I think it's 50% of our bookings are made within a week of arrival, and it's something like 20% are made same day, which is, it's largely the same trend. It's people booking the gateway cities and then deciding along the way. What we hear anecdotally from the hostels is that the Booking.com customer they get generally has a little bit more set itineraries, whereas I think the Hostelworld kind of customer is very on the go. They may be traveling for 6 months, and adding days here and there isn't a huge change to their itinerary.
What's your favourite hostel?
Favorite
And when was the
hostel?
last time you stayed in it?
The last hostel I stayed in was in Akko in Israel.
Oh, really?
Last year, and it was actually a fabulous hostel. But what's happening in hostels is, and that's a big part of our marketing strategy, is there's a lot of misperceptions around hostels, that it's about dorms, you're not secure, there's no privacy, it's very noisy. So I think we've tried to champion that in our marketing to deal with, like 90% of hostels now have private rooms, 57% of the beds in a hostel are in privates, most of them have 24/7 security. So the industry has changed, and there's chains like Generator that are kind of changing the industry.
Let's get Jan from Yandex. Can you maybe share with the audience first a little bit about who Yandex is, and then also you run the cloud division, and a question I want to ask you is, how are you seeing that side, with one from the data side, and obviously you're largely a Russian-based play, and you see from the international audience, and also from this, let's keep the Gen Z conversation going.
So Yandex is first and foremost Google of Russia. It's the largest search provider in Russia. It has multiple other digital businesses, for example, taxi that successfully competes with Uber in Russia, e-commerce and other divisions. Everybody knows that that as far as platform for AI, for big data, industry is moving toward public clouds, and Yandex is following the trends and wants to use its expertise in AI, cognitive science, and big data to build its own cloud platform. So that's the effort I'm leading.
I want to ask all the panelists now, and obviously Elad, I'm going to start with you, on kind of what brings them to Israel, looking at the R&D from the organization. So obviously you being the resident Israeli, but understanding, you joined Facebook through an acquisition, you joined them through yourself, maybe can you share Facebook's, what they see from Israel and the R&D play here?
All right, so Facebook Israel is a unique office around the world because we have a big team of developers here in Israel that is doing internet for third world countries. Internet.org is being made here in Israel, and in addition, the office in Israel, our main mission is to work with Israeli startups. There are 5,000 startups in Israel, and we are looking to make these startups into global companies. So supporting them on platform and integration and technology, but on the other hand, helping them with storytelling, data usage, funnel understanding. So I think we now acknowledging that it's not enough to just have a good technology. You need to do a storytelling because it doesn't matter if it's B2C or B2B, you need to know how to sell your products to an end consumer on the other side of the world.
And this is a general question that comes up at a lot of these events, many times, and to the startups in the audience, who others will hear about, corporates wanting to engage with startups, and they'll give them access. Are you, is with Facebook, you seeing that real drive to engage startups? Because a lot of corporates you'll see, and I'm not going to insult other panelists happening later, but sometimes it's tokenistic, but you're seeing because ultimately that the DNA of the company is still that innovative, that disruptive, that side.
Definitely. I think the reason that we're seeing that, think about Facebook feed, for example. Facebook is the first platform where an ad of an SMB can appear on the same position of an ad of Booking.com or Coca-Cola or advertisers with huge budgets. This is very appealing, and it will always be very appealing for startups with small marketing budgets. And we have the hunger to help startups become the next Airbnb, become the next Spotify, become the next Booking. So it's definitely there. We're working with an early stage startups, and we are working with the big startups and big companies. And I think this democratization of the feed that gives everyone the position to be there This is what will keep us be very engaged with startups.
And Mandy?
Well, we're actually one of those startups.
That's why I was asking.
Okay, so we've had a couple of chats with Facebook around our Geek Tracker, which is how we're using our community to get customers into the small and medium businesses. So it's very interesting that we're having that. But all of our customers, they start with Facebook. They start with putting their stuff on there, and we've got one click into everything, and we've got one click into that joins and posts everywhere. So, it's hugely important to get all the connectivity going.
Good. And Carl, obviously, as your business is based on largely selling or reselling media space and the creative, I know we've had separate conversations about your desires, the agencies to engage with startups. How are you seeing? Is that you'll see from whether it's a WPP wide or a creative agency wide, that you're seeing the startups mainly there to show off to your clients, say, look at all this cool stuff, or you're seeing that it helps with increasing margins or increasing profitability? Where's that angle of attack?
Yeah, sure. Well, there's two reasons why I come. The first is what you were just saying this is where innovation, in my belief, is happening from a technology side. I'm looking for companies in the MarTech space, startups, that are building next generation ways that we can activate within the cloud. As everything is moving towards cloud-based marketing, how do we activate through a whole purchase journey view? So very much so we're looking for companies to work with, to partner with, to grow with, and to become the opportunity with our large multinational companies to become the use cases for them. So for me, being here is looking at what is next. And I ask every startup I meet with, answer 3 questions for me. What part of the ecosystem do you operate in? What gap did you see within that ecosystem that you believed you had a solution for? And what is that solution? Whether it's technology, whether it's process-driven, data-driven, what is it and how is it differentiating? I think many times startups lead with a technology and don't lead with what part of the ecosystem and what solution are they trying to solve for. So that's why I come from a business side and a personal side. This is my neshama here, my soul, and I just love Israel.
Keep the microphone that side. Just to ask you, because obviously, Gillian, we spoke before about that startup question, but we heard before from Elad, how companies, no matter what size, can compete for ad space. And from your side, ultimately, you guys spend a fortune probably on advertising. How are you seeing, because you've got so many platforms now, Snap, Facebook, Instagram, Google, and then not even looking at any of the other side. How are you seeing, you guys, are you constantly changing each month based on your style? Where are you seeing the biggest bang of your buck? Because we're hearing a lot, obviously, people use from Google Ads, and what kind of approach are you taking? Because you guys probably spend so much money and you don't really want to be wasting on, unless you can gain these acquisitions.
Yeah, I think if you think about where mostly we spend our money is in performance advertising. So Booking has always believed in a very data-driven marketing approach. And that's why we struggled with offline and TV for a long time. And now that we see that changing and you can actually do better measurement, even on social channels, on video channels, but also on TV, you see Booking moving more and more into that direction, because we can actually start measuring conversion, we can start measuring clicks, instead of measuring brand uplift, which doesn't mean a lot for your business.
Very good. Gillian, could you mention why, obviously, the Israel question, and then ultimately similar question to what I just asked?
Yeah, the Israel question, I would agree with Carl. Innovation is here, and Hostelworld is trying to become more innovative and be at the forefront of technology. So I came first in June. I came for a travel tech conference that was organized. And I was bowled over by who I met and some of the businesses I met. And I'm hoping that we're in discussions with some of them, that we will be able to come with some partnerships and from that. So I'm very hopeful and on Israel and travel tech in Israel and the opportunities that might bring for Hostelworld. In terms of marketing, we used to do offline and online marketing. We did offline principally to increase the reach in certain markets, but then we actually noticed that we were getting better bang for our buck, focusing solely on digital. So for the last 12 months, we're entirely digital. I won't bore anybody about talking about pay-per-click and SEO marketing, but I think we're at the pretty cutting edge of display advertising. So for an organization of our size, to do everything to do with display programmatic ourselves is, I think, pretty unique. And we're also quite aware that 50% of 18 to 24-year-olds have ad blockers. So they don't really want that annoying ad from Amazon that follows you for 2 months because you looked at a tap once and you were interested in buying a new sink or something.
I see a lot of heads nodding in the audience. We've all been there, I'm assuming.
So we've brought the customer insights back into the display advertising team. So we look at what our customers are interested in. And just to give a very simple example, we index quite highly on surfers. So we knew that surfing is a big passion point for our customers. So we started looking at third-party systems to see who can we address with surfing campaigns. We then built pretty experiential, dreaming kind of content around surfing, and then just at the very end seeded a little message on Book on Hostelworld. And it's really to start putting, when you're surfing, think of staying in a hostel as well. So I think display has probably become a bit of a competency within the organization.
And from Yandex side, because ultimately you're very, very focused on one marketplace, and how are you seeing the engagement with obviously the Russian generation? Obviously it's a very niche market, a very niche.
Yes, so far Yandex is the largest software company in Russia, and it's still to a very large degree a single market company, and that's what we want to change. We see more and more that you have to be a global player to survive long term, and Yandex had a small presence in Israel, and we wanted to expand that. We wanted entrepreneurship and innovation that Israel has, and we're going to expand more and more to make Yandex to a global company.
Fine. Sure.
Just want to talk about the two definitions of marketing, performance and brand or display. I think what we're seeing in the past year is that there is almost, I think you can mix them both. We are seeing now that performance is building a brand and brand is building performance. And eventually, if you can track users on a micro level, you will be able to track if a brand performance was driving conversion after a few months, and if a performance ad just saying book this flight for $100 was able to build a brand. So I think this is the challenge of the marketing world. Make sure that we're not treating performance different than brand. For me, it's the same thing today.
It's good. Okay, thank you. Carl, I want to jump to you to ask you a question. We've been using this phrase a lot, engage Gen Z. On like the Excel spreadsheet, then we go to AA, AB. In a few years' time, are we going to see there's going to be a new category? Is it you ad men that create all these new buzzwords to engage, new client base, or are you seeing that there really is, that it's not an enigma, that there really is this digital natives, and that even within this, we're going to see different changes? Because anecdotally, one of the speakers here, Shaul Olmert, who runs Playbuzz, they're one of the largest social content. He joked saying that his daughter's now deleted Snapchat. He said, sell your stock, it's only using Instagram. And then I think she's 14 years old. So how are we going to see these new...
Evolution?
Yes.
Well, I think it's important to note that marketing while the way in which we market has changed, the objectives have not changed and will never change. So sales and ROI is always going to be the goal that everybody has. But the lens in which we market through is definitely changing. Because we have, through technology, we have more access, we have access to more data and then the analytics of the data to determine how to best to target someone and how to best to engage with them and then to analyze that and optimize it. It's not something we were able to do in linear. And in a couple of years, to your point, we won't be talking about what's digital and what's linear because everything is going to be enabled through technology, through digital. So things that were in a linear manner will now allow for that two-way interaction of give and get. And I think what we need to do in marketing overall gets back a little to your point, is about making sure that when we do engage, there's value there. So whether that's a brand at the branding stage and you're providing information, entertainment, or whether it's at the e-commerce stage, you're providing value in terms of what the offer is. Consumers will give up information, they'll give data if there's value there, if there is a give and get. So where marketing will continue to evolve is it'll be further enabled through technology and data and analyzing all the behavior that comes from that, and from which we could then target much better and refine, but give it the opportunity to have this give and get of shared value.
Fine. I forgot to ask you before what your favourite place is. Obviously, we found out from Hostel. Yes. So.
Yeah.
And have you visited every
it's-
country?
Yeah, no, it's always a very difficult question because we have so much variety. And for me, I always make different choices where I want to stay. If it's a five-star property, but I also make choices to stay in an apartment. I think it's very important for me to also go through every experience we offer on Booking to see how I experience what we are delivering. So, but there's not a single property where I would say I always
so
come back to.
diplomatic.
That's
All our
very
properties are the best. That's a very diplomatic answer. Okay, just final thoughts. You know, obviously, what message would you like to say that we'd like to give the audience on how, we'll start with you, Jana, how we're going to engage with Gen Z, the power of data, and what your thoughts are for the future.
So going to the same point that Yandex being a search company, what we see two things. First of all, there are no universally right answers. That answers that really should be tailored to different people. And with Gen Z, we see that they expect much more from computers than older generations. They expect computer to answer questions before they ask them. So that's why the predictive marketing is getting more and more important. They just want computer to know what they're looking for. They want computer to understand their intent. They want computer to be this human-like machine that they can engage with.
Well, I hope the computer will find my luggage today, but that's a different matter. We'll say.
Yeah, I'd probably just say from a content perspective, I think content is all important. The things that we've learned, you have to go social. We've learned that our customers are, the social platforms is actually where they're now, is the biggest influencer on where they decide to stay. It's not family and friends recommendations, which used to always be the answer. It's authentic, real content. I don't think they mind whether it's sponsored content or editorial content. It just needs to be authentic and relevant to them. In terms of building, we're using micro-influencers. We're not going after the big influencers. We're using smaller, micro, I suppose, communities with people like 200,000 followers. And then I think be flexible. Social platforms are changing, and what people like on those social platforms are changing. So that's probably...
Thank you.
Yeah, I think what I've said before is this generation really expects that you know everything about them. They're not so worried about that. So I think with booking in the future, I think with data and technology, we will be able, because of this, to build a much more personalized experience. And I think if we're able to do this, we will save people time, plus we'll increase the quality of everybody's trip.
Great, Carl.
I would sum up in 3 words how to engage with Gen Z. Be transparent, be relevant, and provide value. Transparency, value, and relevancy are key to it. And that will be driven through technology, through data, and through content.
Thank you, Mandy.
All I can really say is for the small and medium business person is go mobile or die. It's very simple. That's where Gen Z is. That's where you have to be.
Elad.
All right, so I just want to refer to everything you said. We checked what were the 5 most popular stickers on Instagram stories. And the first one was location. So Gen Z wants you, every advertisers, their friends, to know where they are. The second one is time. So I took this story at 2 p.m. in this hotel. And the fourth is hashtag, and the fifth is weather. So it's also how do I feel, where am I? So I think today consumers, Gen Z and every other consumer is giving us a lot of data. We just need to utilize it better. And actually, can I ask to have a story with all of you?
Yes.
Perfect. You want to choose a filter?
What filter should we go for? Read them out. We'll let the audience vote. So, what should we
Filters. I think the dog one. The dog is the 3rd most popular filter,
Should
by
we
the
go
way.
for the 3rd or the 2nd or the 1st most popular? Cheer for the 3rd. Cheer for the 2nd. Cheer for the 4th. Right, I think we'll go for the dog.
Okay, let's go with the dog. Wait. Oh my God, I got the dog.
You got the dog. Woof.
Wait, woof. Just a second. One more.
Oh, here we go.
One more. There you go. Okay, so say hi. Hello.
Hello. Very good. Thank you.
Perfect.
Ella, thank you very much. I think we're out of time. Bang on the clock. I'd like to, if you can give a big round of applause for all our panelists today. Thank you. Thank you very much. Right.